have this vivid memory of sitting in the bathtub one time and just crying.
I think I punched my dad once.
You're not in charge of me right now. Like, you just won't leave me alone.
I had an epidural in my back, so I couldn't move very well.
She just wanted me to keep pushing and keep going.
Everybody had one. Like, if you didn't have one, you were looked down upon.
This is a show where teenagers share their experiences growing up in today's world. I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and this is A Teen's Perspective. Hello and welcome to A Teen's Perspective, helping parents see the future. I'm your host, Dr. RJ Jackson, and I have a great guest today. Due to his age, we will not share his identity. So, which grade are you in first?
I'm a junior in high school.
A junior in high school, and how old?
I'm 16.
16 years old. So yeah, we want to kind of keep his identity hidden. So help us call you something. Like, we got to come up with a name. So why don't you give me a name? If you were like some kind of a secret agent or something, what name would you want to be called?
Well, this has always been in the back of my mind, but for the longest time, I've always wanted to be called Alex. I thought that was a cool name.
Alex. Okay, nice. All right.
Be Alex.
So let me welcome Alex to the show.
All right.
So maybe start off and share with the audience your upbringing.
Well, my family life growing up has been definitely better than most people, I would say. I grew up in a wealthy, upper-class neighborhood, I would say, for most of my life. Not much moving around, staying in similar area, same friends throughout my whole life. My parents were never very strict on me. They were always very lenient, and they were very loving. They were just very loving people. I'm going to say it. I'm very spoiled. Like, they were just like...
You can admit it. That's awesome.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Like, Christmases, I would just like... My mind would be blown by the amount of stuff I'm getting. Like, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did my parents have this much money? Because my parents are always very like humble with their money too. They're like, you know, money doesn't grow on trees. You have to work for your money. And that's what I really like admired about my parents too, is that they are always very responsible in that manner, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely something that helped me form like who I am. But someone else in the similar situation would probably not grow up to be me.
Oh, I see.
My brother, so he's lived like the same life I did, but something about him just as a person, he's not as hardworking as me, I would say. He doesn't have that drive that I do. And to be quite frank, I've been not really mean to him, but picking on him, saying like, gotta work harder. And he's just not that good at it yet.
Got it. And how old is your brother?
He's probably about 12, I would say.
Okay, so he's 12 years old, and so you're the bigger brother.
Right.
Yeah, so he's kind of following in your footsteps in a sense.
Right.
I would say a lot of parents probably can understand what you're sharing because it happens all the time. The parents are the same in a sense, and they are raising kids, but the kids can be so different.
100%.
Yeah. I thought the book, The 5 Love Languages, I'm not sure if you read that book or not, but basically it just talks about like how kids feel loved, and you almost can't raise the same child the same way.
Right.
For example, for one person, it may be gifts. Like that's one of the love languages they talk about is gifts. So they could say, oh, I'm gonna buy you a bunch of gifts because I love you. And for you, you may feel like, oh man, I'm loved. But for someone else, their love language is like physical touch, and they may not feel loved at all by the gifts. So it's interesting you brought that up.
Right. That's exactly how my brother is. Like, I don't really mind like my mom hugging me, kissing me sometimes when I was like a little younger. But my brother, he was very, very against hugs and kisses and all that like stuff. He'll always like squirm away or try to find a way out of that stuff. So I would say like we grew up in the same life, but we were totally different people. Some of my friends have like really good relationships with their brothers where they're basically like really good friends with them. But me and my brother had this kind of like disconnect.
And why do you think you guys have that?
We do have different interests. We both like to play games, but like he kind of just like likes hanging out with his own friends. He doesn't really like to hang out with me and my friends. Yeah, he has his own gang of friends he likes to hang out with. And like, I'm going to bring it up again. I was a little mean to him when I was younger, so I feel like I kind of increased that distance between us. But seeing like the relationship between my friends and our relationship, it just kind of makes me mad at myself and disappointed that I let that go on for too long.
Got it. Yeah. I would say the fact that you're aware of that says a lot. When did you first notice that that was happening?
Probably sophomore year of high school, something like that. I've become more awoken, I would say, just like getting another perspective on my life and looking at other people's life compared to mine. Honestly, like my main goal is to just like get good grades, be successful, get a lot of money.
Yeah.
That was why I was doing everything.
What caused a change if you were thinking that way and all of a sudden something changed?
I can't really remember what happened, but it must have been like hanging out with this particular group of friends that opened up my, I'm not going to make it sound like I do drugs, but my third eye, really. They really helped me get a new perspective on the world, because we always have these like philosophical talks about thinking about our lives, why it matters, and what we're doing and how that's going to like change the world. And I would like leave these conversations with new ideas and a new perspective on everything.
Wow. So you hear that, parents? So friends can be a good influence.
Oh, 100%.
But that's very impressive, because I would say not all teens think that way. And it's kind of cool that you guys are already starting to think about like a life, that life is a bigger purpose.
I think that's like a thing of maturity too. Like we're getting mature. We want to become our own selves. Like when we're younger, kids are mostly all the same. Take that with a grain of salt. Some kids are a little different from than others, but kids are crazy. Kids are wild. Kids like to play. They like to have fun. But like now, kids are starting to diversify in high school, choosing who they want to be in life.
Wow. And what do you feel sparked that change?
Oh, you know what? It's actually probably hanging out with like friends and all that. Like hanging out with a particular group of people that you're with is definitely who you become.
Yeah, that's what they say.
100%.
Birds of a feather flock together. So yeah, that's important.
Right.
Yeah. So talk to me about high school. So you're a junior or a sophomore?
I'm a junior. Yep.
Oh, junior. Okay.
Yep.
So you're a junior. So what are some of the challenges in high school? Because I know it's a lot different than when I was in high school.
Okay, so my high school is highly competitive. It's definitely one of the top ranked schools in Texas. So, I mean, I live in a community with upper class, like I said, everything. Everyone's trying to be successful like their parents. And that's kind of just like our generation in general, is everyone's trying to be some sort of entrepreneur or someone to make a lot of money. And they know how you do that is to get good grades in school. So everyone is trying to get really great grades in school, try to find who they want to be in life, and just how they're going to get there by out of school activities, tutoring, that type of stuff.
So what type of pressure it puts on you guys if you're in a school where everyone is trying to be number one?
Right, that puts a lot of pressure on me in particular, because whenever it's school mode after school, I'm always trying to get my homework done in time. Oh my gosh. The school system, I think, needs to change. They put too much emphasis on homework, too much emphasis on studying outside of school, that it's just becoming an inverted classroom, I would say, where you do more work outside of school than you do inside.
Wow. So share a little more about that.
Well, I'm in majority AP classes, and with that, you'll have a lot of tests to study for, and they're really difficult tests sometimes, particularly like AP chemistry. We'll have many different types of homework assignments that are graded for accuracy. And so these problems on the homework could be very difficult to do. Like AP chemistry homeworks, if you've taken the class, is very difficult for people who are not like that good at chemistry. And so people are always like asking each other how to do these problems. Some people have no idea. Some people will show up before school to ask the teacher, and they're due like the next class. So you have like barely any time to do it.
Wow. So who made the decision for you to be an AP? Is it more like coming from your parents or the school, or if you made the decision yourself?
Definitely that pressure is what makes me try to do all these AP classes, because what happens with these AP classes, not only do you get college credit, but they're also weighted.
Interesting.
So take like an on-level class chemistry. If you got a 90 in that class, it would just be like a regular old 90. You'd have, I think, like a 3.0 GPA or something like that. But for AP class, that 90, if you get a 90 in AP class, that's 10 points plus the on-level. So 100 in AP is like 110 in on-level.
Got it. So it makes sense.
So increases your GPA and your rank will go higher with it.
Wow. Now, are all your friends the same as far as like trying to fight for that number one position?
I try to surround myself with people who are similar minded to me, who try to work hard, try to achieve their goals in life. And through that, I've become like better friends with people in robotics. But I try to not stray too far away from my friends in theater who aren't the most like overachievers, most hardworking, but they do have their own like mind for, in like an artistic manner, to like create things. We both have a drive to create things. So I try to surround myself with people similar to that.
So when you look at your like best friend, your top three, What are some of the characteristics that draws you to them?
Definitely the fact that we both love to create things. Like I'll have like, I wouldn't say I would have one best friend though. I would say I have best friends in every single category.
Interesting.
Mhm.
That's a good way of looking at it.
I mean, this is just me. I know a lot of people are different. Like they'll hang out with like one group of people, like all of high school, maybe split to find another group. But me, I like to bounce around to different people. Kind of like, I don't want to sound like a sociopath, but like my personalities will change. Like I feel like that's with a lot of people too. Like they'll act differently. When I'm in robotics, my STEM brain will turn on. Like my engineering stuff, I try to be more sophisticated, a little bit more formal with everything. Well, in theater, I'm just like, I'm myself more. Like I'm like goofy. I'm trying to be funny. I'm trying to put in like all my artistic abilities into that.
Wow. So if you had the opportunity to take one of your friends on a vacation, where did that friend come from? The robotics or the...
Oh, definitely the theater guys.
Okay.
They're so much fun to hang out with. Yeah.
Okay, I see.
Yeah.
So still talking about high school, you mentioned the pressure that students are facing, especially in a big school, a top school.
Right.
What are the other challenges? I always hear about peer pressure. So what are you guys experiencing there?
Honestly, I may be in the wrong side of the building, but I don't think peer pressure is very relevant in our school nowadays.
Wow.
I mean, that's just coming from my community, which is more wealthy. We don't have a lot of opened up drug business. It's kind of like on the low, people are doing it. And it's not really people offering it to newcomers. They're kind of just like keeping it for themselves, kind of secluded. So I don't think it's more of a problem for the school, but a problem for these people that they're trying to. So I think the school should like target these people rather than targeting the drug itself.
So when you mention drug business, what do you mean by that?
It's kind of like an underground type of business. Like there'll be people that already graduated that are selling drugs to high schoolers just
Wow.
like on Snapchat.
Through Snapchat?
Through Snapchat, yeah. Completely anonymous. Chats aren't saved. It's gone.
Wow. And when you say drugs, like what type of drugs are you talking about?
Nothing too crazy. I mean, vaping honestly has died in the past year, I would say. It really was prominent last year. But marijuana, that's probably the most common nowadays. I would say probably even more common than vaping, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I would say they were probably like half and half, maybe a little bit more vaping, but
What are you hearing as far as like from your parents and the parents of some of your friends? Like, how are they trying to steer you guys away from that?
like I said, my parents trust me a lot. They kind of trust me not to dive into this world. They know I'm smart and not going to risk my life because I've worked so hard for this. I'm not going to just give it all up for getting high or something like that. But I can understand for a bunch of other people that like parents are getting apps like Life 360 to track where they're going, track how fast they're going, hard braking, that type of stuff. And I feel like that has its pros and cons with some families, but it could definitely help some people out there.
So it sounds like you actually like all of the tracking apps and the basically where the parents can pretty much follow you and know everything you're doing.
I mean, I wouldn't say I support it, but I feel like it is required for some families. My mom in particular would be like almost creepily on it. Like she's always on it for my brother and like what he's doing. Because my brother has gotten like in trouble a few times, and so she's on edge with him for most of the time. She's always talking to me like, what should I do? What should I do? I'm just like, just talk to him, I guess. Like, I don't really know what to do in these situations. I still gotta like learn the best react to them.
So you mentioned that your mom asked you for advice, but do you feel like you have some type of influence over your brother?
I do. It's more of like an underlaying influence. Like, it's not very prominent. He probably won't notice that he's getting influenced by me, but just like growing up around me, he slowly like tries to become like who I am. That's kind of like a commonly known thing. Like, your little brother will follow in your footsteps, become like who you are. But eventually at some age, they just stop doing that and they become their own person.
Got it. So whenever your mom is asking you for advice in a sense for your brother, how much of that role could you even help as far as helping your brother kind of follow the right track?
Well, I think personally he would listen to me more than he would my brother. Like if I said, you shouldn't vape or something like that, I'll tell my brother to not vape or something like that. And it'll just be like, why? It doesn't matter. And be like, dude, just trust me. Don't do it. And it's like, all right, fine, whatever. So I feel like in that manner he won't. But he'll always tell my mom, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. I'm never going to do it. And that type of stuff. My brother, I don't know. We definitely have a closer relationship, since we're kind of in the same realm, I would say, like son to parent is pretty distant. There's a large like age gap. Well, brother to brother, you kind of are in the same community, and sometimes you would have friends that are friends of your brother or something like that. So you definitely have a closer relationship in that matter to help you.
And you brought up a good point as far as the age gap. So how then can parents like relate to their teens?
So society definitely has changed over time. And through that, I think parents have to adapt to today's like day and age. Like kids are definitely like having better access to drugs, 100%, having more freedom. Well, parents are like, back in my day, we didn't have all this freedom and stuff like that. But yeah, parents just got to constantly adapt to what kids are going through, because sometimes kids would be secretive and parents have no idea what they're doing, but they also kind of have to respect that privacy at times, because sometimes it can get like a bit extreme in that manner where parents are always harping on their kids, and I think that has got to be toned down just a little bit.
What is a perfect balance for a parent? I can see it from both sides. I agree with you as far as teens are starting to become more independent. They do need their privacy, but at the same time, parents are definitely worried. This is a new day and age, and they don't know with everything that's happening. Like you mentioned, there's easier access to drugs, there's social media. They don't know what's going on. So how can they like find that balance?
Definitely, they have to become more trusting in their kids. In whatever way, they just have to build more trust with them. Maybe like ask how their day has been, and if they like tell you something that like you're kind of shocked about, give them some advice or something. Just like help them get through it. If it's like depression or like girlfriend, boyfriend issues, friend problems, just tell them your understanding and tell them what you think is best and what they think they should do.
No, that's good advice. Now, as far as on the teen side of things, for teens to be secretive, is it just because you guys are worried that the parents, you're going to get in trouble, essentially?
Trouble, and also just like you want to be more independent, because that's with maturity. You want to become your own person and an adult, ultimately. And so you don't want these people like always on your back all the time. You don't want them always making the decisions for you, and you just want to be yourself.
That's great. That's great. I'm glad you shared that. I've always thought that it was more so the fact that teens just don't want to get in trouble, and that's why they want to really share anything. But I think you brought a good point up that you guys want to be independent in some areas.
Right.
So that makes sense. Now, we did touch on social media a little bit. So talk to me about how social media is really impacting the life of a teenager. Because, it's not anything I experienced. It's not anything your parents have experienced.
Personally, I don't think I'm that affected by social media emotionally as much as people make it out to be. Like Instagram recently is removing all likes from all the Instagram
Yeah, I heard
posts.
about that.
Right, because it's taking an emotional toll on some people. But I've honestly never even considered that to be an issue for me personally. Like I would like see people like ACL having fun and be like, dang, I wish I went there. But I wouldn't be like, man, I wish I had like 5 more likes because this person had 5 more likes than I did, and I'm way cooler than them. Social media has become a form of media access rather than personal connections to people. Like YouTube, for example, you find curated information about whatever you want. So you'll find videos about gaming, videos about cosmetic YouTubers, stuff like that for everyone. And social media has definitely helped me relax, I would say, rather than hurt me. And like watching funny videos on like Instagram or something. And that's what I use it probably more than talking to other people, seeing what other people are doing.
That's a good perspective, because you hear so much in the media about the negative side of it, depression, anxiety. Now, do you have friends who've experienced any negative effects of social media?
Sometimes there'll be like one person posts a picture of someone and there will just be like drama between these two people, but then it slowly dissolves and everyone forgets about it and it doesn't become something that big.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's funny. You mentioned that. It's funny that you know that, because that's something I share with some of my teens, is that old drama will always be replaced by new drama. So
100%.
if there was something embarrassing,
Cycles out.
Yeah, it just cycles out. Just give it time. I always tell them the key thing is to be quiet. Like some rumor started about you or something you did. Stay quiet, because some new.
The bigger deal you make it, the bigger.
That's it. Yeah,
it just gets bigger. Grows.
100%. That's funny. We're looking at high school again. What other issues that you see are happening among the teens?
In my school, definitely stress, pressure, anxiety, 100% anxiety. I've seen my friends go through breakdowns from anxiety, from pressure from their parents, pressure from themselves, just all this competition in the world nowadays. Everyone's trying to be the best, and that's really taking a toll on some people.
Interesting. And how are those who are struggling with it, how are they handling stress and anxiety?
Talking to people, talking to their friends, try to make a joke out of it sometimes. Be like, ha ha ha, I got a 65 on my test. Like, making some like fun out of something that could be pretty detrimental to them. But I'm not saying like a 65 will ruin them, but like it probably does hurt them more than they make it out to be.
Interesting. So share with us your view on grades, school, college, and as far as, in relation to success.
People put a lot more emphasis on college to be successful, which you don't have to go to college to be successful. There's been many people in the world, especially today, people are making millions not going to college, dropping out of college, just finding their own way. You just got to pick a path that is best suited for you and stick with it.
Got it. And you mentioned that you live in a high-end neighborhood. So is one of the measures of success more of a financial?
Yes.
Okay. So
I would say so.
So a lot of your friends, you guys are thinking, how can I make money?
Exactly. Like nowadays, people are trying to start their own businesses at like age 14. And sounds mind-blowing to like maybe people who are in their 40s. But that's just how it is nowadays, I would say, is people are just trying to make more money.
When you guys think about money, what do you guys think as like is a lot of money?
A lot of money in a neighborhood like mine, probably the average salary for like parents, I would say, is probably like a household income would probably be around 500 to 600,000.
Yeah. And so is that you guys' goal is to get to that level?
Well, we always want to be more than our parents, and our parents are trying to make us more than them as well. Like, so we're trying to surpass whatever they did and then make our kids surpass whatever we did. So it's just going to constantly get worse, I see, over time.
So what are some of the things you guys are discussing to try to achieve that? Because right now, I think it's awesome that you're 16 and already have a mindset of what it's going to take to be successful and how you're going to achieve that. What are some of the things you guys are discussing to be successful as far as
to be successful?
Some of the tips and things you guys are learning?
People are mainly like everything they're doing is for their application. And so they'll do like out of school stuff like robotics just to put that on their college application because it looks really good to colleges, and people are doing student council, doing honor societies like Spanish honor society, science honor society, math honor society, and they're just trying to build up their resume in a sense that colleges look at them better than anyone else.
So it's just not enough to have good grades?
It's not.
So you need
100%.
more.
We need more.
So give me some examples. So you already mentioned honors, student government, robotics,
right? Volunteership, stuff like that.
Interesting. And so colleges really look at all of that and make a decision.
And like some kids like aren't doing this with a passion to do it, and they're doing it just to put it on their resume. And so these kids that are really passionate about it but aren't as like don't have the intellect to write a good application compared to these other kids who are top 10 in their class doing this just to put on their application, they're getting rejected for that reason.
Wow. Now, how much pressure do you put on yourself to go to what you consider is a good college? There is plenty of smaller colleges.
Oh, there's hundreds of colleges. Anyone can get into a college if they like, but I definitely put all my effort towards getting to college because that is my ultimate goal by the end of high school, is getting to a good college so I can have a good, just be successful.
So what career path you want to pursue at this point?
So for the longest time, I've always wanted to go in the STEM category, whether it's engineering, chemistry, biology. Medicine's going to be a huge industry, I think, growing up, because that's where all the money is, right? Doctors are always like stereotyped to have a really high income. So people are always trying to strive for that. And I always see all these kids in biology, AP, anatomy and physiology, all these competitions for HOSA, which is a health medical competition here in the US. But me personally, I've thought more about it recently, that I might have want to be going into the film industry, like being a producer, a director or something in that manner. But because that's kind of a risky job and it may not come out in your favor, people are less likely to choose it because it's not that much money.
Yeah. So it makes sense. It sounds like that like money is the ultimate goal.
Money is the goal.
And you're picking careers based on that. Now, if you had to repeat that, because I mean, essentially, I would say that's probably my generation, even the generation before me. Money was a goal in a sense when you make decisions. Some come from different backgrounds or households where they didn't believe it was realistic for them to make a lot of money. So
Exactly.
maybe they chose something.
Right.
But for those who were like, hey, I want to make a lot of money, they chose careers for that. But what we found, like, as far as studies, is that they get it and then they find unhappiness in that.
Exactly.
So how then what advice could you give even a teen who's like want to make money but also want to be happy?
Money is not the key to happiness, everyone. You can find happiness in whatever you're passionate about, rather it is engineering or creating robots or rocket ships or something like that, or it's creating films. Like, I do have an interest in that, but I'm uneasy on going into that profession because of that risk factor.
What would you do in a sense if you could see the future in a sense that you'll be extremely happy doing film, like extremely happy, but you only make, let's say, $80,000 a year? Or if you went to like engineering or something like that, you made $800,000 a year. How would you feel about that? If you made the 800, but yet you were unhappy versus the 80,000, you're extremely happy.
I do think most people believe money is the key to happiness. That's why I'm saying there's a big emphasis on it. It's not, because it allows you to travel the world, allows you to buy whatever you want. And that's kind of like what we're limited to nowadays is we just want more stuff. We want to do more stuff. We want to not have to worry about anything. If you are happy doing what you love, that is 100% what you should do, because you might find something in being a neurosurgeon making $5 million a year, but you become depressed over time because you just don't like what you're doing, but you have all this money and you spend it and you don't know what to do from there.
Yeah. And you mentioned passion. For
Right.
kids to find something they're passionate about. How do you discover what you're passionate about?
I discovered what I like to do just by growing up. I kind of just like fell into this category of STEM just from my passion of creating things. I love to build Lego sets, love to play Minecraft when I was younger. And that definitely like opened up my creative side where I just like no limits, no one telling you what to do in a sense. And so I went to do robotics in high school and I found I really love that. So I started creating these robots to achieve what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah. And what is your parents' role in all of this? What are they doing to guide you to make that decision? Or are they just on the sideline kind of supporting you? Or are they kind of telling you?
My parents are very supportive. They will support anything I do. They are very loving people. They don't really think twice about what I'm doing because they know that I can think for myself and whatever I most likely am thinking will be the best outcome for myself. So they are very supportive, and this is kind of like a self-driven type of thing where I kind of like wanted to do this on my own.
Got it. So junior year, when you look over the year so far, what has been your biggest challenge?
My biggest challenge growing up has definitely been probably who I want to come across as. Like throughout life, you would learn things like what to say and what not to say. And through these experiences, you learn, I don't want to be this person, and I do want to be this person. And so just shaping into being that person has been not a lifelong challenge, but till my adulthood has been an ongoing thing.
Interesting. So who is it that you want to be?
I want to be a very friendly person. I want to be a very passionate person on what I'm doing. I want to be a very respectful person, someone who can work for themselves as well as work with a team, be a good leader. Leadership is a good skill to have nowadays, especially these people are trying to work by themselves, but they have to learn to work with all these different types of groups, like teams of engineers. They have to learn how to cooperate together rather than just trying to do it their own way.
Great. And I think this is a good time for us to start talking about, or at least bring up the topic, dating. So
Dating,
how is that going for you, your friends? And
For me personally, I've kind of steered away from that topic because I'm more really focused on goals and achieving what I want in life. And my parents kind of make it seem like girls get in the way of things. They like kind of a waste of money and time because you'll not date them after high school. You'll meet other people. So I've kind of like steered away, not for that reason, but like that kind of helps explain why some teens go through this. But for me personally, I just don't have the time. I would like have crushes on some girls, but like never go full like willing to do it.
So what about your friends? I mean, is that become like a big drama episode with relationships?
My friends that are also driven have really steered away from girlfriend-boyfriend relationships, boyfriend-boyfriend relationships, girlfriend-girlfriend, of course, those types of things. But my other friends, my like more artistic friends, they have more free time, I would say. They're not in really the AP classes, so they have like more time to hang out with each other and all that type of stuff. It is like really entertaining to like see what happens in their relationships and all this stuff.
So you heard it here first, parents. If you want success for your kids, keep them from dating.
Right.
So it sounds like you guys spend a lot of time studying, working hard to try to do really well in school. And then on your free time, you guys are having like intellectual conversations.
Right.
That's pretty impressive. So what do you guys like to do to be silly and be fun?
Oh, be fun. Oh, we do stupid stuff all the time, whether it's legal or not. I mean, we'll do some crazy stuff, but
Like, give me an example.
I mean, we'll like go out late at night, go get something to eat or something like 4 a.m, something like that. Do something crazy like
So
that.
you don't have a curfew?
We'll have a curfew, but like we'll sneak out of the house
What?
to go like,
Wow.
I don't know. We'll do something crazy. We'll like drive in like the, what do you call them? The parking lots that have multiple levels.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. We'll like just do stupid stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Like when I was younger, we would take golf carts from the golf course. We would steal them out of the thing and we'll just drive them all night. Yeah.
It sounds like teens, no matter what, no matter how driven, they're going to find time for fun.
Right. I mean, that's kind of me. Like I bounce around between those two realms because I know people are strictly in one realm where they're trying to not get into the stupid stuff. But yeah, it really just depends on who you are and what you're doing.
Perfect. Is there any advice or anything you can share with parents just to help them manage this time in life where they're seeing their child grow up before their eyes and becoming their own person?
You just really got to understand what your children are going through because you don't really know what they're going through. They're always going to keep secrets from you no matter what. And no matter what they do, you just got to keep loving them. Just keep showing them love because there could be consequences that come with that. And you don't want to, in this time of vulnerability in their development, you don't want to screw over what they're trying to accomplish.
When it comes to teenagers, coaching is so effective because we use proven techniques that help teens identify goals and develop actionable plans to achieve them. If you're a parent and you want to learn how to use these coaching techniques to coach your own teen, visit us at coachyourteen.com. I believe Alex shared an interesting point of view as it relates to privacy. He mentioned that the reason he keeps things from his parents has more to do with the fact that he wants to be viewed as an adult. And it's not necessarily that he's doing something bad. He's worried that he would get in trouble. It's just he wants to feel independent. So I would love to hear what you guys think about that. So make sure you join our conversations on our Facebook group. It's a Teen's Perspective. And I would love to hear your feedback. Now, there's much that I can discuss as it relates to this interview, but from a coaching standpoint, I would like to share with parents a few questions you can ask your teens if they're stuck in a tough decision. One question would be, if it is impossible to make a wrong decision, which path would you choose? So the reason this is a cool question is because what gets most people stuck when they're making a decision is they're worried that they'll make the wrong decision because no one wants to make the wrong decision. So whenever you frame the question that it's literally impossible to make the wrong decision, which one would you choose? Because from a coaching standpoint, we believe that it is impossible to make a wrong decision. We believe there's value in any decision. So another question you can ask is, when you daydream about the future, which career do you dream about the most? And this question will give some insight what your teen desires naturally, like what's deep down. Generally, we daydream about the things that we want. And a final question you could ask is, if it is possible to do both, to have both careers, what would it look like? And what I like about this question so much is that you'll notice as your teen is trying to like combine the two careers or trying to make them both work, they're going to favor one. And that will give you some insight on which one they really want to pursue. And who knows? I mean, maybe they figure out a way to do both. These questions should give some insight. We're not necessarily trying to force a decision or pressure a decision. It's just asking questions to get your teen thinking about it, helping them see maybe some intuition that's guiding them to one decision versus the other. Well, I hope this interview will help in some way with the relationship between you and your teen. Thank you for listening, and thank you so much for all of your support. Please review, rate, and subscribe, and share with a friend. Once again, I'm your host, Dr. RJ, and this is A Teen's Perspective.